The World Health Organization says even developed countries, including the United States, will struggle to keep up with the cost of treating cancer. We want to talk more about the issue with Dr. William Nelson. He's director of the Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins University. He's also vice chair of the Scientific Advisory Committee for the charity known as Stand Up to Cancer. Doctor, from a policy perspective, what can governments be doing about this?
Well, I think that the time is really ripe for governments to consider the way they invest in cancer and cancer research. We've learned so much about how cancers arise, the genetic defects that accumulate to create cancers, no matter where they occur in any part of the world. And I think as governments invest in research to solve this problem, I think then we can really make a difference.
You mentioned the word invest, which kind of gives it a business connotation, and Stand Up to Cancer actually does put an actual price tag on the cost of cancer. It says a 1% reduction in cancer deaths would be worth about $500 billion, or more than 2 times what the U.S. spends on cancer each year. So when you hear all these staggering statistics we just talked about in terms of projecting for the future, you have to ask yourself, why aren't governments around the world doing more to make cancer a top issue to be addressed? And I have a feeling you probably have some thoughts on that.
Well, I think that they're starting to, and I think they're going to increasingly do so because, remember, the 3 words, "you've got cancer," are among the most frightening that any human being, any place in the world will hear. And so as people begin to have experience with cancer and their loved ones have experience, they're going to demand this kind of investment. So we heard a segment a few minutes ago on China. The Chinese government is investing $300 million in biomedical research. The American Association for Cancer Research, the organization, for all the researchers in cancer in the U.S. and throughout the world, is opening an office in China. I think you're going to see this all throughout the world in the coming years.
We've heard you say investment a few times. I want to read a quote from Dr. Christopher Wild of the International Agency for Research on Cancer. He says, "Despite exciting advances, we cannot treat our way out of the cancer problem. More commitment to prevention and early detection is desperately needed." So I want to get your thoughts on that. And how do we do this balancing act?
Well, I think we're going to have to move ahead on all fronts. If we could completely prevent all cancers from occurring, that's obviously the best move. And there are ways to do that. Half the men on the planet Earth smoke. That's responsible for at least 17 types of cancers. We need to get control of smoking, stop people from smoking. We've already heard the diet, physical activity, certain infectious diseases that we can vaccinate against. We need to deploy these across the world. But people are still going to come up with cancers that are desperately ill that we need to figure out to treat, and treat them in a way that we can cure them, something I hope we'll be able to do more and more in the future.
Dr. William Nelson joining us live from Baltimore, Maryland. Thanks so much.